Here's one of the most progressive, if not the most progressive liberal Democrat nominee in American presidential history, saying how proud she is that Dick Cheney endorsed it. So my question to you was frivolous to start with. Would you accept Hitler's endorsement for a candidate? And you said, absolutely. We didn't dispute it. And then you said, but he's dead. So then I said, well, what about Kim Jong-un or President Xi or Vladimir Putin or the Ayatollah Khomeini? I mean, at what point do these endorsements, if you accept them proudly, become actually disgraceful slurs on your own integrity?
This is a nonsense question, and a vote is a vote. Just because somebody endorses you doesn't mean that you have to. What does it mean to reject an endorsement?
You literally take an endorsement from Adolf Hitler to win power?
Well, right now I wouldn't because Hitler's dead. So I don't know what is the point? Do you have to go around and try to disavow different segments of voters that are voting for you? This is such a nonsense question.
It's actually a very good question.
Very viral clips have been going online the past 24 hours I've been seeing of an interview with Putin where he's smirking, almost laughing, saying that she should be the next president and she should win. He's basically endorsing her in this video, which I think is insane, but weirdly the media is suppressing that story right now, so I find that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's only one reason why Vladimir Putin's endorsing Kamala Harris is he wants her to be president. The only reason he wants her to be president, he thinks that she will be a weaker president of the United States than Donald Trump.
And the idea of making fun of Kamala Harris being unable to string together like a coherent sentence when Donald Trump gave a 3-minute rambling answer to what policy would you support to help children and to help childcare for struggling families is hilarious. Donald Trump literally can't speak. He has never put together a coherent policy thought.
That's why he does 3-hour-long interviews every day with the biggest people in the country, because he can't talk. Got it.
In this one, we're going to have a look at a debate between Piers Morgan, Destiny is back, Xaviaer DuRousseau from PragerU, Emily Wilson, and even Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein chimes in. This one gets heated, and it's always fun to laugh at Destiny when he comes up with some nonsense. So let's go ahead and just get her started.
The video.
Let's talk about different standards, because I found it fascinating, Destiny, over the weekend, that out of nowhere, Dick Cheney, who was named Darth Cheney after Darth Vader by Democrats for 20 years. He was to them the evil personification, the villain figure of all conservative ills in America. The guy who took America into the illegal war in Iraq, who trampled over human rights left, right, and center. And yet suddenly he pops up because he doesn't like Donald Trump and says, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. And rather than renounce that endorsement with great speed, which is what she should have done if she had any principles, she issued a statement saying, I'm proud to receive Dick Cheney's endorsement. What happened to the 24 years of Dick Cheney's the most, according to Joe Biden in 2008, the most dangerous vice president in the history of the United States, is what he said about Dick Cheney. And here's his own vice president saying how proud she is to get that endorsement. Do you feel a sense of pride?
Endorsements are one way. He endorsed her. I mean, it represents some segment of the Republican Party that's obviously dissatisfied with trying to re-elect a traitor, an insurrectionist.
Would you be proud if Dick Cheney endorsed you?
For running for president, you take any endorsement you can get, of course.
Really?
Just because somebody endorses you,
whoa,
just because somebody endorses you doesn't mean that you support their beliefs.
You take any endorsement you can get. So if Adolf Hitler decides to offer an endorsement, you would accept it.
A vote is a vote. Just because somebody endorses you doesn't mean that you have to. What does it mean to reject an endorsement?
You literally take an endorsement from Adolf Hitler to win power?
Well, right now I wouldn't because Hitler's dead. So I don't know what is the point? Do you have to go around and try to disavow different segments of voters that are voting for you? This is such a nonsense question.
It's actually a very good question. It's a very good question.
Absolutely not.
But I'm going to bring in a living figure. If Kim Jong-un decided to offer an endorsement to Kamala Harris, should she accept it or not?
When you say accept an endorsement, should she have a formal ceremony celebrating it?
If Kim Jong-un today said, I endorse from North Korea Kamala Harris to be president of the United States, would you think she should accept that?
Tell me what you mean when you say accept it.
This isn't a spelling bee, dude. He's like, could you please define the definition of the word? It's like, dude, how do you not understand what Piers is asking you right now? And this is another thing that Destiny and David Pacman have been doing lately. they obviously understand the question, but they need you to refine it so that they can maybe nitpick something from it. It's simple. Should Kamala Harris accept an endorsement from Kim Jong-un? Or, I wish Piers would have asked this, what if Vladimir Putin came out and publicly stated, I want Kamala Harris to be running the United States? Which would be a valid question because it's much more on par with the candidates that are involved, considering the left accused Donald Trump of winning basically in 2016 because of Russian collusion, right? That the Russians wanted Donald Trump to win for whatever reason, even though they waited till Donald Trump was out of office to invade Ukraine. But the answer is obvious. Either candidate should not accept that type of endorsement. They should come out here and completely try to separate themselves from a dictator coming out and endorsing them, because it's obviously bad for their campaign that somebody like Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin is publicly saying, I want this person to win.
Tell me what you mean when you say accept it. Should she tell him no, don't vote for me, or don't?
With Dick Cheney, she should have a statement saying how proud she was that he endorsed her, and that staggered me, given what a hate figure Cheney has been for 3 decades or more to liberals, progressive liberals. Here's one of the most progressive, if not the most progressive liberal Democrat nominee in American presidential history, saying how proud she is that Dick Cheney endorsed it. So my question to you was frivolous to start with. Would you accept Hitler's endorsement for a candidate? And you said absolutely. We didn't dispute it. And then you said, but he's dead. So then I said, well, what about Kim Jong-un or President Xi or Vladimir Putin or the Ayatollah Khomeini? I mean, at what point do these endorsements, if you accept them proudly, become actually disgraceful slurs on your own integrity?
This is a nonsense question. And I remember back in 2008, I watched Ron Paul get hit with the same question. When I was a young college kid, I used to be a libertarian. I think it was some KKK organization or something that came out. They supported Ron Paul, and people were saying, Ron Paul, do you disavow the endorsement from the KKK leader? And Ron Paul said, you know what? If people want to vote for me, that's fine. I'm not going to tell people not to vote for me. Just because somebody endorses me doesn't mean that I support all the views of that person. You would agree with that, right?
No,
if somebody endorses you, doesn't mean you support.
Sorry, no, I would say, no, if the KKK want to endorse me, I will publicly denounce that endorsement and say I want nothing to do with it. That is called being a civilized human being. You appear, Destiny, correct me if I'm wrong, to be of the view that literally any endorsement that helps you win power is absolutely fine, even if they're genocidal maniacs.
I don't know if I would consider Dick Cheney to be a genocidal maniac.
He was literally called that.
Vote for you.
He's literally was called that when they called him Darth Cheney.
If somebody wants to vote for you, this is an absurd standard. If somebody wants to vote for you, then allow them to vote for you. If their fans want to vote for you, then allow them to vote for you. Why would you sit here and fight against an endorsement for a vote?
Well, okay, let me go to somebody who actually
Absolute nonsense.
Okay, well, I don't agree with you. I think you've just discovered you've opened a can of worms and you can't work out a way to get out of it. Let me bring in Jill Stein. I mean, Jill, if you got an endorsement from Dick Cheney or the Ku Klux Klan or Vladimir Putin, a public endorsement, what would your reaction be?
I would publicly reject it, but let me say, I think more important than the endorsement is the fact that the policies of Dick Cheney, you know, his neocon approach to our foreign policy, his endless war machine, you know, his very hostile, you know, it's like fight first and ask questions later. I think that's the core of the problem right here, is that the Democrats have very much adopted the agenda of Dick Cheney and the Republican war machine. That is the more critical problem here than the endorsements. But yes, absolutely, I would certainly reject those endorsements.
I mean, we've got a picture.
But the real problem here is that the Democrats have really adopted the policies of the Republicans.
I want to show a picture. This is a view with a world leader. Let's take a look. It's you sitting at a table with Vladimir Putin. So if Vladimir Putin offered you an endorsement, what would you say?
I would absolutely reject it. And I was there actually at a conference in order to challenge Vladimir Putin. Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to talk with him because he sat at that table for about 10 minutes before he gave his speech in Russian. There were no introductions. There were no exchanges whatsoever, no conversations. The one person I could talk with was a former German foreign minister who is sitting to my right, Willie Wimmer. But otherwise, I was not able to talk to any of the dignitaries. The guy on my left, I thought was just Putin's bodyguard. It turned out he was like his press, his chief of press or something like that. But there were absolutely no introductions. And by the way, the Senate Intelligence Committee investigated in detail whether there were any connections between myself, my campaign, and the Russian government, et cetera, and gave me a full exoneration and thanked me for my full cooperation.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that photo is used as part of the Democrats' arsenal of trying to silence their competitors.
Okay, well, you've given. I want to bring in Xaviaer here.
Well,
I mean, it's very
it's
interesting,
no
Xavier.
longer succeeding. Shall we make
bring in
that
Xavier.
clear?
We're getting into interesting moral mazes here. Destiny doesn't mind having endorsements from Adolf Hitler or Kim Jong-un. Jill, they're thinking that America somehow is more to blame, it seems, than Russia for the invasion of Ukraine and so on. How are we getting to these weird moral places? Why is there not just an agreed line between people of all sides that, yes, we defend freedom and democracy where we see it attacked and imperiled, and yes, actually endorsements from genocidal maniacs are not to be accepted?
Because that would make too much sense, Piers. I mean, at this point, we've already seen that politics, both domestically and globally, it's all about division. It's all about getting us to point the finger at each other. And overall, it's just an L for all of society. I think you should not. When it comes to, I want to go back to when it comes to accepting that endorsement, you can also just remain silent as someone comes out and endorses you, because ultimately you do want those votes. But the way that the left has embraced Dick Cheney's endorsement is just hilarious to me, especially considering Joe Biden's on record saying that Dick Cheney was the most dangerous vice president of all time. And they spent 20 years calling him a war criminal and all these nefarious things. But then you have Bernie Sanders going out and saying how great of a thing it is that Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris. But again, it just goes to show that this election is very much the people versus the system. And Kamala Harris is the representation of this system, and Donald Trump is representing the people. But when it comes to just the moral standard of all these different foreign entities and all these different just allegations of who's a war criminal and who is not, we are not focusing on what we can do to actually make people have a better quality of life here in America. The number one thing that is missing from modern political discussions is actual policy, and actual policy would be relatively easy to compromise if we got rid of all the antics, but that wouldn't get ratings and that wouldn't get the attention that people want onto other things so that they can distract us so that they don't have to do the actual work that it would take to solve our country and turn things around.
Okay.
And to his point, it was only yesterday that Kamala Harris finally added her policies to her website. It's under the tab Issues that has never been there before. And the reason I believe they did it now is because the debate is actually tonight. And so when Donald Trump comes out here and says, you don't even have your policies on your website, the people don't even know the policies that you're running on, she can, or the moderator can say, well, they're on my website, why don't you know? And it's going to make for a soundbite, to Xavier's point, to distract us. And, you know, I think it'll be effective. And unfortunately, that's the game that the Democrats play. They're going to try to get sound bites. They're going to try to get video clips of Donald Trump looking stupid. And that's an opportunity where they can try to play on Donald Trump. But the reality is, the folks that have been paying attention, they understand that Kamala Harris has waited till now, just a day before the debate, to add those policies. It's bait. And furthermore, from what I've seen of these policies, they're complete lies. They're trying to make her look like she's not this socialist, far-left, crazy person like she is, so that they can appeal, so the mainstream media can appeal to the sheep in the middle. And I hate to call them sheep, but just the busy working people that are going to take their news from the mainstream media. It's only the folks that are paying close attention that understand who Kamala Harris truly is, and that when you read through her policies, her issues, they're nonsense, that they're complete lies, and she's only put it out there for the people in the middle to be fooled. And they had to do this because Trump is gaining on her and his pastor in a lot of the swing state when it comes to these prediction markets. All the momentum that she gained from the DNC and being appointed from Joe Biden has completely come to a stop. And they're desperate.
Let me bring in Emily. I mean, Emily, do you think, political endorsements, that right now, they can be very valuable or not, as the case may be. I'm really not convinced that Dick Cheney's endorsement of Kamala Harris will be anything but, in the slightly longer term, bad for her. certainly terrible for him and his reputation, and his daughter, who was a great Republican cheerleader, and then decided to go full on against Trump. It cost her her seat, obviously. And they're the pair of them now queuing up to support a Democrat nominee, and she's proudly accepting them after 25 years of vilifying this guy as the worst of the worst.
I mean, she flip-flops on a lot of things, so I'm not surprised by this. It's also the news cycle now. Let's be real. People are going to forget about this when she does the next dumb thing in a couple days. And, the next speech comes out where in 18 minutes she can't even make one coherent sentence. But I do find it interesting. Very viral clips have been going online the past 24 hours I've been seeing of an interview with Putin where he's smirking, almost laughing, saying that she should be the next president and she should win. He's basically endorsing her in this video, which I think is insane, but weirdly the media is suppressing that story right now, so I find that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's only one reason why Vladimir Putin's endorsing Kamala Harris is he wants her to be president. The only reason he wants her to be president, he thinks that she will be a weaker president of the United States than Donald Trump. Because Trump, for all the attempts to try and frame him as Putin's great buddy and so on, he's unpredictable. And I think on the world stage, I quite like that unpredictability. It seemed to keep them all in their boxes, whether it was Kim Jong-un, President Xi, Putin, Ayatollah Khomeini. They all kept in their boxes pretty much for the 4 years.
They literally, what are we talking about? Iran literally attacked Saudi Arabia under Trump.
We weren't in war.
Kim Jong-un literally, that's great that you have a cute little phrase of in war, but they were attacking the country with bombs, okay? I don't know what you would call that. Whatever you would call that is fine. That's congratulations, okay? Kim was still testing missiles, okay? That didn't stop under Donald Trump. The appeasements that he was making around the world towards people wasn't moving us towards peace. It was moving us towards this false sense of security because Trump was too stupid or too lazy to actually deal with any of the issues that were going on around the world. This idea that he somehow gets credit for foreign policy because he kicked the can down the road on everything, that he invited the Taliban to Doha to make an agreement cutting out the Afghanistan government, that he abandoned allies in Syria while also bombing a Syrian airport. We say, oh, Trump was the president of peace when he was making deals in the Middle East, cutting out the Palestinians, when he was having photo ops with people like Kim. This idea that Trump was some great master of foreign policy is hilarious. Also, this idea that we should be talking policy in the United States instead of antics, I agree 1 trillion%. It's actually a huge problem that I have. Kamala Harris is significantly to the left of me on a lot of economic issues. We can't talk about that because the conservatives have abandoned policy since 2016. They just want to talk about whatever crazy antics Trump is up to. And the idea of making fun of Kamala Harris being unable to string together like a coherent sentence when Donald Trump gave a 3-minute rambling answer to what policy would you support to help children and to help childcare for struggling families is hilarious. Donald Trump literally can't speak. He has never put together a coherent policy thought.
That's why he does 3-hour-long interviews every day with the biggest people in the country, because he can't talk. Got it.
You should try actually watching one and listening to the words that he's saying instead of getting so excited that Donald Trump is speaking.
Every single one.
Interview he's done. Really, give me one coherent policy position that Trump has expanded on in the last 2 months.
So out of Theo
Exactly.
Vaughn, let's bring Elon Musk. He didn't have one sentence in 9 hours.
On all of the critical issues that the American people are demanding. If you go to Kamala Harris's website, what do you find? You find advertisements for basically brand clothing and mugs, coffee mugs, and so on. You will not find her policies. And likewise, in their public statements and in their debates, we are not seeing coherent policies, and they're not being debated. Why? Because they're both being funded by the billionaires, by the oligarchs, by the upper 1%, and you have the parties enforcing that. If you saw the footage from the DNC, from the floor of the DNC, you saw the ring of corporate suites up at the top costing anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million. That is the power in the House, both for the Democrats.
The worst part about that last exchange right there is Destiny thinks he won. He gave him half a second to respond, which in most cases, the audio isn't 100% live going to the person that he's talking to. But that aside, he gave them half a second to respond, and then Jill Stein schooled him. I mean, bro, when Jill Stein is schooling you, you need to take a step back and reevaluate your life because holy crap, bro. And briefly, we'll just go over here and look at Kamala Harris's website because Jill Stein mentioned it right there at the end. Yes, it was just pretty much a store before or a method to donate, but now she added this issues tab, and this is where her policies are set up, right? And of course, look at that. She included Trump's Project 2025 agenda, which Trump has denounced multiple times. It has nothing to do with his agenda. These people are crazy. She's lying to you right to your face. But not only do they mention it once, let's scroll down. 2, 3, 4 times is Trump's Project 2025 agenda, which, like I said, has nothing to do with Donald Trump, is mentioned inside of her policies. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. It's a blatant lie within her policies, which to me discredits every single other policy that she has listed here. You can't believe a word that she says when she's going to include a lie like that 4 times. So look, here's my call. You guys have heard multiple times before if you like watching the channel, which I appreciate. But when the polls open in your area, you got to go out there and you got to vote in person and you got to vote early. It's as simple as that. Vote Republican down ticket so that Trump isn't handcuffed by the House or Congress. Okay? So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you agree with me, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.